Hello there, welcome once again, and if you don't know me, my name's Hannah and this is my 1940s inspired house. Or at least that's what it's been coined over the last few years, but anyway, we'll get to all of that later. For now, it is freezing and I think it's time to put the kettle on. So this is my house, a 1920s two-bed semi-detached that me and my mum bought together around 8 years ago when we were embarking on our first ever mortgage. And we've always been vintage enthusiasts and we've always had a real love for period homes. So this house was old and that's why it spoke to us, and it was on budget, and so that's why we bought this one. And then I started posting about my love of vintage and the vintage items that I have in my home, and people started to see similarities between my house and typical houses that you would have seen in the 1940s. And as my prevalence on social media grew, people started to associate me with living in the 1940s house. And to be honest with you, I was all for it because the 1940s is one of my favourite periods of history to study anyway. So I could use the fact that my house resembled a museum, which I've actually been told in comments, to teach people about history and make engaging and informative content. So that's what I did. And the videos surprisingly did really well. And so I started getting approached by like media outlets who wanted to do articles in magazines and online articles and even in newspapers about my home. And every single outlet that approached me wanted to use the kind of theme that I lived in the 1940s house. And so I went with it because it was fun, it was increasing the popularity of my channel, I got to show off something that me and my mum was so very proud of, and I got to meet some really great people. But how historically accurate is my house to the period of the 1940s? You know, really. And I kind of want to find that out, and I am bringing you with me. But listen, I have left my home completely untouched. Whereas usually I would try and hide bits of tech and charging ports and all those kind of things, or angle my shots to leave out the television, I have done absolutely nothing. This house is exactly in the state as how me and my mum live in it, because despite what many people might think, this is not an immersive museum, it is not a television set, this is our home, and I have left it in its rawest form so that you and I can decide how truly accurate or similar is my house to a typical British house in the 1940s. This is going to be fun. So we're going to start in one of the rooms that is arguably the most popular, or at least online, and that is my kitchen. And I mean it when I say I have not tidied up in this room. Like, this is exactly the way that I found it when I woke up this morning. And for any historians out there, you're probably going to already see some things that are very much not typical of wartime living. And that is, of course, my fridge. This is my Smeg fridge. It's a second-hand hand-me-down from my nan that we picked because we do live in 2025, of course, so we did need a fridge, and it went so well with the whole theme of the kitchen, with the kind of mint green, duck egg blue look that we've got going around this room. But fridges were not typical to wartime living. That's why in period homes you tend to see pantries, because they were a way to keep food cool, where domestic fridges weren't available to a lot of people, particularly people who would have lived in this kind of house during the 1940s. But even though we've got the fridge, we do have the cooker. So we're balancing out here. So I get a lot of people saying that this cooker isn't from the 40s and it's actually a model from the 50s, but I promise you, this is from the late 1940s. And I know that because this exact model is actually in a museum in Rainhill, Liverpool, where it was first manufactured. Like, my exact cooker is in a museum, which is just crazy. And I actually had the honour of meeting her predecessor when I went to Mr. Straw's house. And that cooker was a new home cooker, which is the make and model of this one, but it was like from the decade before, so it was from the 30s. And she was lovely. She was so lovely. And she was like the same colour scheme and everything. She was like this one's mother. This is Glenda, by the way. This was Glenda's mother that I got to meet. So Glenda is very much from the late 1940s. She lights with a match, she's got her lovely little plate warmer, and she's very much giving that kind of period accuracy that we were never really looking for, but I guess since we're rating the rooms, this is a strong corner for my kitchen. I feel like this is a strong team player for the overall period accuracy of this room, and this is the pantry, which, as far as I know, has always been in this part of the house, and it's filled with lots of lovely bits and bobs. A lot of them are from the 1940s, so this bread bin and this typical barrelware, but we've got an eclectic mix of various things, but there are some things that are letting this side down, and one of them is my microwave. So we do have a microwave, and behind here, this little curtain, we also have our washing machine, very much not period accurate. And I mean, we've got mason bowls, we've got typical weighing scales, OXO tins and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, really, this is a mixture of the past and the present, you know, the vintage and the modern, if you like. But I guess to the untrained eye, it does still look very historically accurate to a period similar to the 1940s, but really if you look at it closely, there's a lot going on. I mean, we've got a toaster there, we've got a cocktail shaker, we've got a lot going on that you wouldn't have seen in a wartime era. I thought it might be quite good to do a kind of 360 of this entire room so you can really like kind of soak it in. So we've got our pantry just there, we've got the bathroom that is right off our kitchen there. Then going around, we have the sink area. I'm now going to be in the way, sorry. We've got the sink area there, and the window and the front door and stuff. And then it goes round to my Welsh dresser just here. Oh my gosh, you can see a charging cable right there, leading to the door to our stairs. Now the Welsh dresser, now this is not a vintage or antique piece of furniture, it was just something that we found that matched the colour scheme of this room, and we liked it, so we bought it. And on it, displayed on her, is an array of grandma core, quirky little oddities, if you like, and as you can see, without me even needing to point it out, a lot of these are not typical of the 1940s. I mean, we've got Wallace and Gromit right there, enjoying a slice of Victoria sponge on a canal boat. Is weird, but I do love it. We have got some things that would have totally not been amiss in a typical British 1940s household. An array of Brown Betty teapots, for example. I think all of the teacups and plates are fine. Bananas, you know, you wouldn't have found them typically during wartime. So yeah, again, it's a big mixture of stuff that we love that weren't intended to be museum quality. So I think overall I would probably rate this room around an 8 out of 10. Because there are some strong contenders, you know, really holding up the fort, but there are other things that kind of let it down if we are sticking strictly to that particular decade. So yeah, 8 out of 10, I would say, for the kitchen. And down here, we've also got my dehumidifier, which helps with condensation throughout the house. Now with the living room, the biggest issue that I can see in this room is that it's almost too bougie to echo a typical 1940s British living room. Apologies, by the way, if you can see my feet attire. Yes, I am wearing woolly Christmas socks with unmatching slippers, don't even worry about it. But this room it's a big mixture of period charm, but not strictly the 1940s. So yes, we have typical Welsh dressers, we have a 1940s clock there, we've got vintage lamps, and a nursing chair, and mismatch old sofas, but we also have a whacking great big television in the corner of the room, and a log burner, which is not in keeping with the 1940s, nor is this lovely mantelpiece that we had installed. But the layout of the room is similar. The focal point is still the fireplace. We have wooden floors and we have rugs. I don't think the colour scheme is too inaccurate either. That kind of darker sort of purples and reds. It's quite mismatch, and that wouldn't be uncommon either. But again, there are some things that are kind of letting this side down. Let me just do another little 360 for you. So there is our dresser that's been in like every house we've lived in, and my grandparents' lovely clock, and my Derbyshire Life edition, December edition, if you managed to check that out. And then we've got our window and our big television, And then we've got our fireplace just here with lovely photos of my grandparents on there and my childhood doll's house and lots of lovely photos of my family and lots of lovely memories. Mismatched sofa number 1, going out into the hallway, and mismatched sofa number 2. And me. Overall, I do think we've got to score slightly less for this room, so I'm going to give it a solid 6 out of 10. And this is also coffee and not tea. I'm so sorry. Right, onto the hallway. This is actually an incredibly difficult part of the house to film because it's very, very tiny, but as you can see, we live here, so it's not aesthetically pleasing and perfect. We have my NHS badge just there, the mask that I wear when I do my pigeons, piles and piles of coats, and lots of things that you wouldn't see in a, oh my goodness, is that a Hetty Hoover? Yeah, a few things here that you wouldn't see in a typical 1940s home, but some things that you would, like our lovely pheasants on the wall there, our pheasant wallpaper, our barometer up there. So it's got like, you know, period accurate elements and also not. We've got a lovely brolly stand there. We've got some welly boots just behind there. So to be honest, even though this room has a lot of things in it, oh, and Paddington, lovely little Paddington, that aren't typically 1940s, they could be taken away, and the actual design of this area is pretty period. So we're going to go for 8 out of 10 for this very small space. Okay, so give us a break in the bathroom, because this was one of the rare rooms that we actively tried to emulate a 1940s design, simply because we liked it, whereas the rest of the house was kind of a happy accident. We had visuals and inspiration from that period when we were designing this room, which will very much not be to most people's tastes, because a lot of people want clean cut, you know, more modern looking bathrooms with, you know, nice tiling, but budget wise we didn't really have the means to do that. So this is what we came up with. So we have gone with a traditional lemon yellow, so there's a point for that. We have gone for a black bath panel, another point there, black toilet seat. There's a lot of vintage elements in here, but we have a shower, which would not have been seen in a 1940s house. The actual bath and shower and toilet units are modern because we had to replace what was here when we moved in to something that was more functional. And we also have a 1950s Dainty Maid cabinet here, which we salvaged from the outhouse and refurbished it to match the bathroom. It was already yellow, but we just gave her a bit of a spruce. So she's actually from the 50s, so we might lose a point there. But just look how adorable she is. We also added the curtain rail going across her to hide all of our bathroom products. And we've also got some mallard ducks, which you might have been waiting to see. But again, a bit of an eclectic mix. So we're going to give this room a 7 out of 10. Okay, so let me talk about my stairs for a moment. I think we did really well here because we actually installed this stair runner ourselves, which was no easy feat. And we got the stairs back to wood and we painted them ourselves, and we painted the walls a matching blue. And as you can see up there, we've got our lovely stained glass, which is the original stained glass to the house, because we had to get the windows double glazed, unfortunately, just for cost of living crisis reasons and trying to actually heat the house. So we repurposed that stained glass to hang there next to, or should I say in front of, the original stained glass window. Now we have got lots and lots and lots and lots of paintings, which probably wouldn't have been typical going up the stairs of a 1940s home, but having photographs as you went up the stairs would have been more typical. Of course, the rail there, that was something from the old owner, which we have not yet removed. So that's not exactly period accurate either. But I do think this space really does give that kind of look of a more, well, of an area of a house that echoes eras gone by, really. So I don't care what you say. I'm going to give this area of the house a 9 out of 10. Mum's bedroom. And by the way, she's going to be fuming with me when she knows that I deliberately did this video after not tidying the house. But this room, I mean, she was the one that instilled a love of vintage into me. You know, she's always loved period features in a home and secondhand shopping and antique and all of that lovely stuff. So there's a lot in this room that is not period accurate, but you can see her love of period charm coming through, like, you know, tenfold. I'll do a little, let me do a little 360 for you. Just bear with me a moment. So, okay, here we go. We have got, hello, that is Betty, my beautiful, beautiful cat. So as you can see, we've got some lovely wallpaper, lots more beautiful paintings, because apparently we can't have enough of those in this house. But you can see, oh, that's the chiming of the clock just over here that you can hear. But as you can see, some of these pieces of furniture are much more modern. It is something that she would like to change. She is on the hunt for a antique wardrobe at the moment, which will be quite nice. And then here you've got her little toilet area. Oh my gosh, it's so dark. 1 second. I can't reach. Oh, there we go. There we go. So there's the toilet area. We already know an indoor bathroom would not have been typical in the 1940s. I forgot to mention that, by the way, in the last room. You would not have seen an indoor bathroom, an indoor toilet. That would have been an absolute luxury. So again, that's not really period accurate. But there's lots in this room that is giving that feeling, that charm of decades long before me and my mum were even alive. So we're going to give this room, we're going to give it a 4 out of 10. Lots of different elements that are giving the kind of vibe that we want, but there are some modern elements mixed in as well. I mean, if you move over here, you can see her television. That was the clock that was chiming just then. So yeah, I think a solid 4 out of 10. Okay, my room. So again, this is a home. It's not a immersive museum or a film set. So there's lots of things in this room that you just would never have seen in the 1940s. I mean, look at this. I've got a massive extension cord, because if you're a person that lives in a period house, you will know there is a severe lack of outlets and plug sockets. So I have a massive extension cord. I have my laptop there when I do my social media bits. I've got my computer there. I've got this because I've always been, when I was younger, and still now, I've always been a big fan of, you know, horror films. I was kind of into the creepy, and I saw that at a flea market and I loved it. So that's there. And I've gone for kind of a more Victorian theme with the wallpaper, because that's another period of architecture that I absolutely love, is the Victorian era. And you can see inspirations of that going all throughout this house. I've got the original 1920s fireplace. I've got a 1940s wardrobe, but there's lots. I've got an antique bed. This bed is from like the 19th century, I think. So that definitely would have lived through the 40s. Suitcases and things, but also, you know, lots of stuff that you perhaps wouldn't have seen. Let me just show you a little bit more of the room. Got a Moomin picture frame there. We've got our original Raggedy Ann. We've got Shaun the Sheep saying hello. We've got an Ethel and Ernest poster, a wall dedicated to Penny, my pigeon. There's my lovely fireplace there. So yeah, again, lots of different eclectic mixes. And, oh, nice little truck going by there. And if you come over here, you can see my television, my very retro Disney TV, which I just always really wanted. It was just kind of like reliving a childhood dream there. Lots more paintings, video games and stuff. So I think we're going to have to rate this room at around 4 out of... No, we're going to go 5 out of 10, because there are certain elements, you know, that still give that period feel. But I think overall, we're going to have to go for a solid 5 out of 10. Now with my garden, I really don't think we've done too bad, because we've still retained the original outhouse, even though it's very much not a toilet anymore. This used to be a barbecue that we converted into a log store. It's not exactly coal under the stairs, but it is still giving that sense of resourcefulness. It is a very traditional British garden. We even have allotments on the lawn, which aren't currently in use, which is really naughty, but they will be in use in 2025. And aside from all of that, I have my own aviary of homing pigeons. So that in itself should give this space a 9 out of 10. Go! That about took my head off. So after some very complicated calculations, out of a score of 80 for historical accurateness of my house versus a 1940s British house, we have scored 56, based solely on my own ratings. But based on that, we are over halfway to achieving full period accuracy of my home, which is probably something that I will never aspire to do. Comment below and tell me, what era does your house resemble the most? Whether you live in an old house or a new house, which era do you think your home is most similar to? Honestly, I'm so interested to know. And other than that, I'll see you next time.